So I have a baby on the way. I guess it's time to trade in the old sports car clunker. Guess you're gonna have to get a little crossover like the Mazda CX-3 or the Honda HR-V. But which to choose? What do you think, baby? The CX-3 and HR-V are for anyone who find the CX-5 and the CR-V just too big or too expensive. With the Pilot now adopting the same styling language as the CR-V and HR-V, Honda really has a small, medium, and large crossover solution for you. Based on the Fitz platform, the HR-V actually uses the Civic's 1.8-liter four-cylinder engine. In this crossover, it makes 141 horsepower and 127 pound-feet of torque. All the power is sent through a CVT to either just the front wheels or all wheels, like in my test car, when needed. Even if the HR-V isn't based on the CR-V, it sure drives like a scaled-down version of that compact crossover. Power is adequate and the CVT is pretty smooth and blends into the background. But on the highway, it's constantly hunting around trying to find enough power to keep this crossover up to speed. Even if it is based on the Fit, the HR-V doesn't exactly handle like one. It is very predictable in how it drives, and being a subcompact crossover, it's really maneuverable in tight spaces. And as a bit of a surprising bonus for such a small crossover, it rides pretty smoothly over a rough pavement. The interior of the HR-V is pretty boring, except for these 3 vents over the passenger side that kind of remind me of Geordie LaForge for some reason.
2 minutes to a warp core breach!
This may be a baby crossover, but there is a lot of grown-up equipment like push-button start, navigation, and Honda's terrific lane watch camera. Now, unfortunately for American buyers, you can't get lane departure or forward crash warning. Those are available though in Canadian versions. But my biggest complaint is one I've brought up in a lot of recent Honda products, and that is a lack of headroom. What little hair I have left on my head is brushing the roofliner at all time, even with the seat in the lowest position. It's as if the seat won't go low enough. And strangely, the CX-3 is listed as having less headroom, yet in that vehicle I fit no problem. For the rest of the seating position, it's alright. Seat comfort's okay, but I do find the armrests are set a little too low for my liking. For how small the HR-V is, there's actually a lot of rear seat space. With nearly 40 inches of rear legroom, a 6-foot adult can sit behind a 6-foot adult. And headroom in here is pretty good, and seat comfort is alright. Now, all this legroom does allow for a rear-facing child seat to fit back here without impacting the front passenger too much. In the CX-3, rear legroom is down over 4 inches, and fitting a rear-facing child seat in that vehicle has the front passenger eating the dashboard. On the plus side, headroom is about the same in the CX-3, and the seats are maybe a little more comfortable. But the side windows are smaller, and you always feel more confined in the Mazda than you do in the Honda with its nice, airy side windows. And when it comes to cargo space, the Honda wins hands down. Forget for a second that the HR-V can carry 40% more cargo. Its real party trick are the magic seats. Like in the Fit, the seat cushion can flip up to allow storage of taller items, or the entire seat back can fold into the floor to give you a nice large loading area. Not only can't the CX-3 match the HR-V's cargo carrying abilities, but the actual opening of the hatch is much smaller. It makes fitting an infant stroller base near impossible, whereas the HR-V swallows it up without issue. And it's not like the Honda is that much bigger, it's less than an inch longer than the Mazda. But not everything is perfect in the back of the HR-V. There's this weird flimsy cargo cover that's just kind of useless. So why even continue this comparison test? It's obvious the HR-V is better at being a crossover. Well, with these subcompacts, it's about more than just hauling people in gear. For starters, there's no denying the CX-3 is better looking inside and out, and it just gives off this aura of being more upscale. And that makes sense because there is a lot of technology available in the CX-3 that's not offered in HR-V, like adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, forward collision alert, and head-up display. But all of this technology can also drive up the price. Fully loaded, after destination charges, the CX-3 just eclipsed the $29,000 mark. That's some $2,300 more than a fully loaded HR-V. But that extra price also gets you a better driving experience. Using a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine borrowed from the Mazda 3, the CX-3 makes 5 more horsepower and an extra 19 pound-feet of torque compared to the HR-V. Plus, weighing in around 2,950 pounds, a fully loaded CX-3 is some 150 pounds lighter than a fully loaded HR-V. At lower speeds, this power to weight advantage is apparent. The CX-3 just feels faster in pretty much all situations. But by highway speeds, the advantage kind of disappears and things even out, as neither vehicle is really fast. And speaking of even, both vehicles with all-wheel drive come with identical fuel mileage ratings. Now in real-world testing, the CX-3 did get 1 mile per gallon better in my observed average. In terms of driving pleasure though, it's all about the CX-3. It is by far the more fun to drive vehicle. That has a lot to do with the fact that it drives a lot more like a compact car than a crossover. The overall steering setup is pretty darn good, and it can tackle corners with surprising speed. I really wish there's just more space behind me for how well this vehicle drives. It kind of reminds me of a better looking Nissan Juke. So back to the original question, which to choose? Well, my advice, if you don't have kids, is get the fun to drive stylish CX-3. But if you do have kids or plan to in the future, the Mazda is just too small for a young family. The better choice for you is the HR-V. Surprisingly spacious and entirely practical, the Honda HR-V is a baby crossover ready to haul babies.